so we have Wednesday. As you know, it is Wisdom Wednesday and brain candy and sweet treats for the soul. And that means at the end of the day, we're going to talk about all things, all things. We're going to share what we've learned through our business, our years of corporate America. Today's conversation is, a little more pointed in the, how not let emotions impact your business, how to, help, rewire that brain, that mindset. We're all capable of doing it. We learned one way to do it, and sometimes we get stuck in that rut of only doing it one way. And so today we're going to talk about all those things. And so it's exciting to have this conversation. And again, just as David mentioned, make sure that you join us in the metaverse. And you can do that by joining the Hello LLC.io and scroll down and you will see the button to join us in the metaverse. And it is, as we all know, a simple click of the button. We always share this, guys. Metaverse, our metaverse that we have created, you can join us by your cell phone, by your laptop, by your iPad, by any electrical device any electronics that accesses the internet. You could probably even do it from your TV to be 100%. If you can get a web browser on there, you can pull it up. So again, jump on in there. We're going to have an amazing conversation. And this is the new title that we have is Brain Candy and Sweet Treats for the Soul. We'll just jump into different conversations each week. And so we thought this was a fun little name. And so we wanted to share it with you guys. But with that said, Mr. Jones, is getting everything rock and roll. We are live and omnipresence across multiple platforms. I think it's like 10 or 12 different platforms that we're streaming on as we speak right now, live or, via audio. And so join us on any of those, but we really recommend you guys to jump on in to the metaverse and experience that from your phone. So, Mr. Jones, what kind of facts do you got for us?
Well, no facts today. Today's Wednesday. Today's your day. What would you like to share today about emotions and things of that sort?
Well, I think the big thing in conversation is if we're going to start on that basis of emotions and how that impacts business is, first of all, let's just identify the fact that all humans have emotions. That is just what this story is. Some of us are better at hiding those emotions. Some of us are, not so good at hiding those emotions. Some of us don't express them. Some of us do express them. And there's no right or wrong in any of this, right? We are all just humans navigating this life, and that we, feel at the end of the day that sometimes our way is the only way. And that's not really what is so. It is, it is the experience of what we get to go through and how we go through that. And that is the point of this journey, is to experience emotions. And so, we're going to talk about how that's related to business. In corporate America, a lot of times you're not able to express those opinions, emotions, because it's corporate. You need to be in a corporate structure. You need to make sure that, at that point in time, that you are playing the letter to the law. You are being who they need you to be within that emotional setup, meaning not showing emotion, not having outbursts, not getting emotionally attached to things or customers or outcomes, and being able to identify what your role is within the company and not have express emotions. Now, I am, let's just say this. I'm an emotional person because of my water sign, of who I am, where I was born, my astrological chart is. And so for me, my entire life, managing emotions has always been something at the top of my list. But I've never really been great at it because of I'm an emotional person. And then you add on the fact that I am of a female gender, and that is a little bit different hormonal structure. Sorry about that. We have a slight We have a slight issue here. Just a second, guys. All right. Nope.
No.
We got an open mic somewhere. We're getting reverb.
Close that. There we go. Try now. There we go.
There we go. We got it. Thanks for hanging out and making sure that worked. So at the end of the day, welcome on in, Plantain. Welcome on in, Chef Andy. Welcome on in, Emily. Welcome on in, everybody else who's watching us on TikTok, on X Spaces, on Twitch, all of those things. So I'm going to pass this mic over to Mr. Jones real quick and let him jump in on this conversation. And I'm going to handle one other technical issue we have right here.
Yeah. And so, when we talk about, understanding emotions, we have to understand that, humans are fundamentally, a part of the human experience at the end of the day. And that goes through our thoughts, our behaviors, our decisions. And this is something that we talk about, all the time, is being able to understand these things and also being able to grow out of these things and change these things as we move forward. A lot of the times, we do not like change, especially, as you guys know, we talk about technology a lot. And, that in itself is hard enough to talk about change, especially when it's talking about changing our emotions and who we think we've showed up as, in the last 20 years, 30 years, 40 years. It doesn't matter. We have to be able to understand it's the human experience and be able to understand our thoughts and behaviors to grow more as we move forward. And then, this takes emotional intelligence at the end of the day. Developing this emotional intelligence is key. A lot of people talk about, oh, I'm changing, oh, I'm doing this, oh, I'm doing that. But are you actually being emotional intelligence when you're not? And when you're not, doing what you say you're going to do, and understanding how to manage those emotions effectively other than ineffectively, or waiting till it's too late, or not doing it all, or faltering back in the way that we have our emotional, intelligence, and then the impact on our lack of emotional intelligence, and even more, the positive side of being emotional intelligent. Me and Tara have shared, and talked about this, is that communication is sexy. And that you being able to communicate effectively, right, on both sides, on both parties, is key. A lot of the times we think that we're communicating, but you're communicating in one way. And there's multiple different ways to communicate. And you have to be able to figure out how to communicate with that other individual, which impacts your life, impacts your business, impacts your friendship, impacts all aspects of your life. A lot of the times when we talk about emotions, how you do one thing is how you do everything. And really being able to understand that when you are not managing those emotions, and there's unmanaged emotions, that can lead to stress, that can lead to anxiety, that can lead to burnout, that can lead to relationships faltering the other way than what it should be. And that's friendship, that's personal, that's that's man and wife, that's all of the love, all of that can be impacted just by emotions. And especially for myself, and you guys have heard me and Tara talk, is that a lot of the times when I share, it's about facts and stats. And then when Tara shares, it's on the emotional feeling side of how it makes her feel, or how, that shows up. And those collide a lot in our relationship, as they do with a lot of others people's as well. And that's what I mean by being able to communicate effectively on both sides, right? Just because your feelings and emotions doesn't mean we disregard the facts. And vice versa, just because we're facts and stats doesn't mean that we disregard, the feelings and emotions, and really being able to find that 50-50, that, or not even 50-50, just the perception, and being able to give that other person grace is key at the end of the day, and learning throughout that process of how we communicate effectively. And so that would be one of the very most first things that we have to be able to understand is, understanding the emotions that we play in our life, and really understanding, how that can hamper us as we move forward. And so another thing, uh, we talk about, emotions, but also emotions in our personal life with your emotional well-being. A lot of the times we fail to forget that how you feel is the way that you take care of your body, how you look, how you show up. And if you're not taking care of yourself, I'm here to tell you, your emotions probably aren't going to be right. Or then probably not going to be in line, and you're not going to be feeling great about yourself, which then that reflects onto everybody else. And that's something that we have to remember, as we move forward, as we get older as well, right? Of making sure that we meditate, making sure that we work out, making sure that we spend that date time with ourselves, right? And take ourselves out on a date and care about ourselves so we can care about other people. And then, making sure that we're, are understanding our emotional roller coaster as we have, and then expressing our emotions as well to ourselves. I always share with people, hurt people, and that you have to be willing to get rid of those traumas, those dramas, those patterns, those programs. And especially something that we talked about last week, right, was this generational, curse that we all have, the generational curse of understanding technology, of not selling yourself and saying, oh, I'm not good with technology, or, oh, I'm too old with those things. And I look back, especially when we talk about technology and the generational curse, I ask you, look back at, how you look at technology. Is it the same way as your parents used to look at it? Because a lot of the times, I can assure you, that might have a lot to do with it, is, our generations and who we've surrounded ourselves with, that tells the story that we have, that the sacrifices pop up, right? The self-disciplines pop up, right? And being able to understand that internal dialect, that conversation with the soul, of how that all plays about, and which leads to, how we allow our emotions to show outwardly. And, once again, tears, crying is nothing but water. Releasing that, especially coming from a man, it's okay. For a long time, especially talking about generational curses, right? We've been taught, don't cry, don't, don't do this, man up, do this. And it's like holding all that pressure inside, and eventually it's going to burst. And so this is why handling our emotions and understanding our emotions and being okay with our emotions, and let alone being able to express those emotions out loud with your friends, with your family, right, with your significant other, and hoping that it doesn't come back and get shot back at you in a vindictive way, a dagger way, and a way that is really not, disciplined, or should I say, really not constructive. We all have faced that in some shape, form, or fashion, especially when we talk about, personal emotions, when we do go to express those things. And I really think in today's society, being in these rooms, talking with other people, I think we're more open now to express, how we feel and how things come across to us. The question is, can people be able to communicate effectively and understand those things, especially, as we talk about today's topic, brain candy, brain candy and sweet treats for the soul. And so today's conversation is really about, helping you all overcome, these obstacles, these things that you have. Please feel free to come up on stage. Please feel free to share in our chat as well if you have a questions or a suggestion. That's what this is all about. Those of you that are watching us live, you're actually seeing a live feed of us in our metaverse room, where we no longer meet our clients in Zoom. We meet them in metaverse, that they can join us from their cell phone, their laptop, their VR headset, anywhere really. And it's, a completely different, conversation. But that's what I would have to share. You got anything to add on top of that, Love?
Yeah, I just think that, some of the conversations that you are talking points that you touched upon, like the emotions in a personal life, is, speaking from an emotional point of view, and someone who has dealt with my emotions throughout my life. Yes, not always been a great person at handling those emotions, been very emotional outwardly, and not understanding how that impacts my life, those around my life. And so, when you talk about the personal effects to your life with your emotions, we have to understand they go hand in hand. Your life is a direct reflection of how you handle things in an emotional way. And a lot of times we have to understand that emotions are not a bad thing, period. They're just things that occur. Emotions are like Emotions are like clouds in the sky. They show up and they pass by, and we have to let them show up and we have to allow them to pass by and not hang on to them. Could you imagine if a cloud in the sky was passing by and it just like hit a roadblock and stopped and never went anywhere else, and you just have this roadblock of clouds? It'd be pretty foggy at some point, right? And think that's how we are as humans. We have to allow emotions to show up, see what they are. And to be very frank, emotions are it's a professor. They're teaching us something. Whether we understand what they're teaching us at that time or within that arena is a different story. Sometimes we have emotions and we beat ourselves up because you're like, oh, I shouldn't have reacted that way, or I shouldn't feel this way, or I shouldn't think this way. And we have to just understand that they're as natural as breathing, for humans. It's as natural as a fish needing to be in water, right? They're going to come, they're going to go, and they're going to teach us a lesson if we allow them to when they show up. And so really, what I have tried to do in my adult life, as I've gotten a little more in tune and fine-tuned into emotions, is identifying what the emotions I feel in my body. What does that mean, Tara? Well, we all have experienced anger, right? We've all experienced upset. We've all experienced sadness. We've all experienced happiness and joy. And those create different feelings within our body. Happiness and joy, show up and you want to skip, you want to jump, you want to just kind of be bouncy and energetic and smiling and all of these things. And then on the other side of that is you have the sad emotions or the angry emotions. And you have to identify how that makes you feel. What is that physical feeling in your body that is created when you feel that emotion? And that is just coming down the pipeline and identifying, okay, I'm upset or I'm happy. What am I feeling physically in my body? That is the first step to identifying how to use your body as a gauge to understand what emotion is showing up. Why do I share that information? Because you're like, well, if it's an emotion, it's going to show up. Just let it show up. Yes, but as David shared, there's emotional intelligence, right? And that emotional intelligence is something that, we have to be in tune with our body, our personal, how the emotion affects us in our personal life. So that way we can turn around and say, okay, I'm getting frustrated. I'm getting angry. I'm getting upset. This is where I know what goes next. 1 + 1 = 2. We've all been taught that formula. We all know A + B = C. That's 1 + 1 = 2. It's all simple algebra. Okay, I'm feeling some type of way, and my anger responses are showing up, and I feel my ears getting heated, my face getting flush. I feel fire in my chest or my stomach, and I just feel like I'm gonna breathe that out and just language all my upset out, meaning we're just gonna verbally vomit. It's understanding what that formula is for you. And the reason why I share that is because then it allows you to be able to be aware of what that is so you can stop it. So you can say, okay, this is what I'm about to feel. This is what I'm starting to, my ears are starting to burn. My face is starting to get flushed. I'm starting to, my breathing's getting shorter. I feel, like a rapid breath. I feel, heat in my chest or my stomach that I'm about to, share this out loud. And that right there is a simple fact that you are about to experience and portray anger or whatever's related to that. that allows you, when you start to identify what A plus B is, you get the result of C. So if you have body functions, body sensations that are happening, that's A. B is, okay, what is the emotion tied to it? Like, I have this, I'm feeling this way, I'm getting, I feel like I'm about to breathe fire, my face is flushed, my ears are on fire, whatever it is. And then I have this emotion, anger, upset. C is the result. Are you, verbally lashing out at somebody or something? Are you taking it to Facebook and, airing all of your upset on Facebook? What is it that happens when you have A plus B? What is the result? C. And the reason why I share this is because it allows us to step back and say, okay, I want to get better about, maybe not expressing, that I'm upset or angry. I want to be able to, have that pause and say, okay, I need a pause. I need to collect myself. I need to, get to the bottom of what's going on. How do you have that emotional intelligence so you don't react, that knee-jerk reaction that people have? How do you get to the point where you don't have that reaction, that knee-jerk reaction, and be able to actually get to the point where you go, okay, I'm feeling this. The emotions are coming. I know what the result of C is, and I don't want to do that. And so at this point, what are my mechanisms to go ahead and get me away from the result? Is it deep breathing? Is it walking away? Is it, going to the basketball court and playing basketball? Is it running 5 miles? Is it, doing 100 push-ups? Is it, punching the punching bag? What is it that you do to get yourself out of that emotional, physical state so you don't react that way? That is what emotional intelligence is. That is where we can identify how I show up in emotions, angry, upset, happy, sad, whatever they are, and how do I react, and what is my demeanor. Do I like that demeanor? Is that what I want to share with the world? No, I don't like it. Okay, how do I change that? That's how you change it. Or, yeah, I do like it. And then that's your life. And you have to be okay with that because it's your life. And you get the choice of how you have your emotions and your reaction to how that plays out in your life. And let me tell you, your life is nothing but an accumulation of experiences, choices, and emotions. That's all it is. And so what experiences have you had that have made you make choices of, yes, I want to do that. No, I don't want to do that. I want to go right instead of left. What are those? And then the emotions that's attached to it and how you handle that. That is the accumulation of what your life is. So that's what I would add to it, Mr. Jones. What other talking points do we have to share on emotions?
Well, I think that as we shared, right, there's the emotions in personal life, and we'll talk about a little bit more in relationships as we get deeper into it, but also, the emotional standpoint in business. And there's different types of emotional awareness that we have to have when we talk about, emotional leadership. Can leaders effectively manage their emotions, and can they inspire others and people in their team? There is that type of emotion. There's also, your emotions can, cause a contagiousness to it. Can it spread to your team? Can it affect the morale? And yes, it will affect the morale and productivity of your team with your leadership. And so how you manage your emotions, right, as a leader is important. And then, having emotional intelligence in sales. This is something that me and Tara talk about quite a bit, is that, I'm the salesperson and she's the systems and marketing person. And a lot of the times, I have to share things with her from the salesmanship side that she might not be aware of, and vice versa when it comes to, the systems and programs, because that's a skill that is developed over time of actually doing those things and being able to put them to test. And so you don't know until you find out. And that gains the emotional awareness around that. And if you guys aren't catching on, everything is around your emotions. Everything starts with how you have your emotions, and more so your energy, your vibration, your frequency. And so often, in corporate America, those words were never mentioned. The 20 plus years, I was in corporate America. My managers, leaders never talked about, energy, frequency, vibration. That was like Willie Foo talk at that particular point, right? And then being able to understand, emotional intelligence with customer service. Boy, you definitely have to have, a lot of emotional intelligence and grace per se, when it comes to emotional intelligence with, your actual customers or clients and community, because once again, everybody doesn't see life the way that you see it. In today's society, we make it to where people have to see things our way. They have to do things our way, and we don't accept the way that other people do things and how they do things and just be okay with it, right? Understanding everybody does something differently, just as long as it gets done in a constructive, timely manner at the end of the day. And so, that's something that I definitely want to bring to you guys' attention. And this is a huge one, is conflict resolution. How are you solving the problems that come about? Are you bringing them up? Are you talking about them when it doesn't matter? Are you, not resolving them whatsoever, where you're just festering a little fire and boom, it turns into this big bonfire because there's not a conflict resolution, or you're not being able to share, especially, when it comes to leadership, from customers to, the actual organization, from, employees to the manager or the leadership, from your relationships, from your friendships, the conflict resolution. And what happens a lot of the times is that instead of us talking, to the other person, we have a conflict resolution internally. And in today's society, it's the cancel culture, where forget it, F it, don't know what you're talking about, and out the gate they go. And we resolve conflicts on our own with making assumptions, with saying things that were never said, or coming up with things to justify ourselves. And that just doesn't work in resolving effectively, and understanding how we can work this together as we move forward. And so, that was one of the biggest things that I wanted to share with you guys all, especially, with us being digital nomads, having our business, having a relationship, and doing all these things. That is huge when it's talked about, conflict resolution at the end of the day. You got anything you want to add to that?
No, I think, at the end of the day, it's great information about, especially when you get into the emotional intelligence and how those play out in different arenas in the professional aspect. So if you're more sales oriented, if you've worked in sales, if you've had to, do account management, whatever it is, inside sales, outside sales, management of sales, whatever that is, versus customer service, versus maybe someone who's a designer, they're, or process, engineering, they're different emotions. Sales is a way, carries a whole other set of emotions versus when you're, designing and building something from an engineering point of view, versus customer service. Those emotions are a wide range of, from the job aspect, from the business aspect. Sales is very high energy. It's, very, kind of tough, nose to the grindstone. You got to get out there. You got to hunt and find and ask and be kind of persistent in a healthy way. And what I mean by persistent is able to take a no, able to take a no, thank you, not interested, or, don't know who to talk to, that kind of thing. That creates emotion within people. We are a society that the first word we learn is no, growing up. No, don't touch that. No, don't step out in the street. No, don't, put your finger in the light socket. No, don't, stick your head underwater and breathe in. We learn, no quickly. And so, however, as adults, when we're in various channels of our professional life, whether you are in a business, own a business, however that is, it really comes down to, like for instance, in sales, receiving a no can be very, I wouldn't say so much detrimental, but it can be a setback because some people can be like, oh, I keep on getting no's. All I get is no's. And that's discouraging. It's not encouraging. It doesn't feel like I'm making any progress. And some people who need that feeling, that emotion that they're moving forward, they're being successful, they're achieving results, that can systematically set off an emotion within somebody. So again, that's what, customer service, you get somebody that calls up, they could be extremely upset. They could, be taking out their bad day on you or their bad experience with a company on you as in customer service. You have to identify that that's not you. Don't take it personal. They're not personally attacking you. They're having an experience, and you're the person that's the outlet to hear that. Now, you're also the person that can possibly help them through that or not, depending on what your role is within the customer service, right? So there's different roles, in the engineering, the design portion of things, it's a little different. You might not be forward facing to the client all the time. And so at that point, you are, in a role that might be, where you can achieve your personal goals within the professional aspect. But then you might run into a lot of hiccups that, on your build or your design that you got to work through. And that's the same thing as like receiving no's in sales. It's like, that didn't work. That solution didn't work. I gotta go find another solution. That solution didn't work. I gotta go figure out another solution. And so those all, create different emotions, and different, labels within the business. Like I said, sales, customer service, these type of different, admin style works, and versus, maybe someone who's an attorney. These all have different emotions that come with it. I was just having a conversation with someone who, worked in a very toxic work environment. And, this person stated that they turned in their resignation to move on to a different, company and go to a different position that they found. And the owner of the company wanted to throw money at it. Was like, well, I'll pay you $10, $15 more an hour to get you to stay. And at that point, this person had to stop and say, I'm sorry, I have to sever ties because of the toxicity in this workplace. What the emotional baggage is that when I leave this workplace and I go home, I'm not a kind person. I'm not a loving person. I'm not a happy person because I have to deal with this here. And money doesn't solve it, right? And so you have to understand that sometimes those things happen. And there's people in this world that don't really care to know what your emotional feeling is, or what you're feeling as how, they did something or something happened within, a workplace or, within daily business. There are people out there that care, and there's people out there that don't care. And that doesn't make it right or wrong, right? Because everybody manages it differently. But it comes down to the simple fact that sometimes you just have to understand what works for you and what doesn't work for you. And that's where we come back up with like emotional boundaries. What emotional boundary are you putting in place? Meaning, this is a hard no. Like if this person or this company or if someone goes across this boundary, where do I draw the line? Where do I say enough is enough? Where do I allow that person to, or where do I give grace and allow them to, work through it in a communicative way? Through communication. So absolutely. But it looks like we have Zara up here. Zara, I hope I said that. Zara.
Yes, Zara, thank you. You resonated me when at public places, when you were talking about sales and customer services. That's because I'm working for this Tribe consultancy as inbound customer services. And, you guys eat a lot of pizzas on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, especially on weekends. and it's Papa John campaign. And sometimes, yes, you have to face those rude customers, and they cross all their limits. Why? Because I'm on this part of the world and they're on that part of the world, so they think we have taken up their jobs, and now all this thing, and then they have a tool set up, and I don't know what's going on in the mind, but they come up very rude, very rude. So but yeah, no matter how you're not allowed to. You have to go with the script, especially in the inbound services, where even if customer is like being abusive, you have to stay quiet, and then you have to, after that, you have to cut the call. You cannot even cut the call because now the systems, they have introduced some Ezra AI. So until the customer don't cut the call, you have to stay on the call because it's all recorded. So you have to just stay quiet, and you don't have to answer them. And there are many fake spam calls you receive mostly after late nights, and because over here it's early morning, and on your part it's late night, so time differences. Then as a matter of fact, it is, but it is like because I've been hearing these customers every day, especially. So I've learned something, that we can look life through different perspectives, because to experience a more pleasant taste of life, you have to ignore many things, and because life is more beautiful. So sometimes a silence to these customers who could be from their master stores, because they are being attached to them for a very long time. And sometimes I'm learning how to be silent, just as how I learned how to speak, because uh, when time announces his decisions, no matter how angry he is, he after some time, when he does not see any response from the agent, the customer has to calm down. What I learned on the way of truth and transparency, the biggest hurdle is we are left alone, especially in this customer services, inbound customer services. Um, then yes, we do get upset because after all, we all are humans, and we have that. But that spiritual power is always is my source of satisfaction. And you were talking about some sales process and how to make sales and everything. Now everything is in a two-way process. For example, if you and David are hosting this room, so you guys are this host and I'm listening. So it's a two-way process. So if I'm in the audience, I will be a student, right? Vice versa. If one person is selling, the other one is buying. And one is the seller, the other one is the buyer. So there's a whole psychology behind all this digital marketing and how people are working here and everywhere in the world. You're right about the psychology thing, Tara. But sometimes letting go and forgiving people for their bad behaviors is like, it's all connected with the psychology. And that brought a lot of changes in me. Like I'm being more humble, being more kind. Let people say what they wanted to say because I'm doing my job. Yeah. So.
Well, I love that. Thank you. Oh, I'll have you mute your mic there so I don't have a reverb. That's great, Zara. It comes down to the simple fact of, first of all, I've been in customer service before, in my younger years, and I think everybody should be in customer service and have some sort of role in customer service because it teaches you so much, like you shared. Um, and you're right, there are so many people that can get on and just have an emotional outburst towards you, like you're the one personally that offended them or did something wrong, or didn't get an order right, or whatever it is that you are in a customer service position for. And I think one of the biggest things that a reason I share this that I have learned about being in customer service is when I get other people on the phone, when I'm in a customer service, speaking to a customer service person, I will always ask them, how is your day going? I know the phone calls are recorded, and I'm not asking for any personal information, but I want that person to know that they are a person, that I know that they're a person. They're trying to assist me with my service that I need, or with, maybe a problem, or, a question I have, but I want them to feel seen and heard. A lot of times we think that, people, especially Czar, when we are outsourcing our customer service, like for instance, if someone is across the seas, if they're in India, or if they're in Europe, or if they're again across the seas somewhere, and you're calling at different times, so it's morning there, it's evening in the States. We have to understand that we're a world society now. We do world business now. No longer is it that you're just going to have somebody in the United States that's going to be your customer service agent. I'll share a funny story with you. Welcome on in, Miss Kimberly. It's so good to see you. I'll share a funny story with everybody here. The other day, the last couple of weeks, I've been assisting, as you guys have heard, my brother and his company getting it streamlined. And I had to do a lot of business with Intuit, which is QuickBooks. And we were switching from one software to a new software in Intuit. And so I have spent an accumulatively, I can never say that word, so don't come for me because I can't speak. But altogether, I have spent, a healthy 20 or maybe 30 phone with different departments at Intuit, and they outsource a lot of their customer service to India, which is cool. No worries, everybody. Again, we're a world society. That's no problem at all. And I always, chat with people, ask them how they're doing. I know some people in the States, they get, sometimes it irritates them because they can't understand what a person's saying or whatever. But we're a world society again. We're world economics. We are doing business in a world, around the world together. We are no longer just in our silos of each country. And so back to my story was, having conversations with people. And I had one young gentleman on there, and I will be very honest, I was having a really hard time understanding him because he had a very heavy accent, and that's no disrespect to him. It does not take away from him. And I would keep saying, I'm sorry. Can you say that again? I wasn't quite sure what you said. I'm sorry. Can you say that again? I'm not sure what you said. And he would kept repeating himself because I asked him to. And, oh, okay, that's what you said. Okay, this is the answer. This is what we're doing. And I didn't get frustrated because I understand who we are, what we are as a world. We're moving around. We're having, we are a world society. So we're doing business. And I knew that this gentleman was, from India, and that, and so very cool, but I was, having a hard time. And I finally said, I am so sorry, sir. I'm just having a really hard time understanding some of the things you're sharing with me. So that's why I keep re-asking if you can, repeat yourself. And I'm not trying to be rude. And he's like, oh no, you're not rude at all. I was like, well, I just wanted you to know that because I don't understand. And so I am trying to solve my problem, and I need to understand. And what happens, the reason I share that is because when that occurs, some people, I'm not going to say most people, but some people get irritated by that. They get frustrated by that. That adds to the level of frustration. They can't solve the problem that they've already called customer service about, and now it's adding to it, and they're needing help, and they can't get resolution because they can't understand, and they're frustrated, and that frustration shows up as anger, upset, whatever it is. It turns into something. And again, I spent like 24 to 30 hours on the phone with it, and many of the agents that I spoke to in different departments were not, and I won't say that, but they just had a dialect, a different accent. And so I assumed that they weren't locally here in the States. They were maybe out of the country. And I would just let them know if I was having troubles or not having troubles, understand. But I will share one thing. I got, a lot of people on, and I was extremely frustrated with the problem I was having, but not the people. And I would share with them, every agent I would talk to, look, I'm frustrated because I'm having this issue and I can't figure out this issue, and I'm pretty tech savvy to figure things out, and I'm kind of frustrated. I'm not frustrated at you, and I'm not going to come at you. I'm not going to, be rude to you by any means, because it's not your fault. I just need to talk to the appropriate person that can help solve my problem. And to wrap the story up, one of the problems, because I had multiple problems that I was working through. One of the problems I had, I got on the phone and I asked to speak to a certain department because that department told me I needed to speak with them. And so I asked for that department, and this customer service agent wouldn't transfer me and kept telling me that they had to upsell me, and sell me something different. I needed to be on this program instead of that program, even to do that. And I finally was like, look, I understand what you're saying, but I need to talk to this department because that's what they told me. And I don't know how any other way to tell you that I understand what you're saying, but I don't need that. I don't need to be moved up to a different platform or a different program or a different software. I need to talk to this department. And I finally had to get a little stern with this person and say, I get it, but I need you to transfer me now. And it was not the individual's fault. It was the company that they worked for that, as you said, Czar, it's the scripts that you have to, they had to stick by. And this person was solely sticking to their script, which was great. It was fine, but that wasn't solving my problem. And after about the 10th time, that person telling me I needed to upgrade and do this and buy this in order to do this, I was like, no, because that's not what I did last time. And I got there. So I just, look, can you pass me to a manager, or can you pass me somewhere else that might be able to assist me? And I get it, because the people that are on the other end of the line, anytime we're talking to a customer service agent, it doesn't matter if they're sitting right next to you or around the world. We as humans have a responsibility to be compassionate, to show up and be kind to other people, and understand that they're only doing their job. They're only showing up and doing so that they can make sure that they put a roof over their head and food in their mouth and in their belly, and be able to provide a good life for them and their family. And sometimes the company that they work for is pushing a different motive, a different operation, a different script that is needed than what the customer needs and the client needs. Now, that's shame on the company. That's not shame on the person, but it's us as humans understanding that we have to be emotionally intelligent when we call up and we are the customer that needs help, and that they are the customer service agent or the sales agent or whatever it is on the other end of the line, and that they're there to help you, but they also have an agenda that they have to stick to, because of company rules or bylaws that they, work for. And like you said, learning to, be quiet and listen. I've noticed that a lot more in the last few years of customer service agents and reps being able to slow down and just listen and say, you know what, I do understand what you're sharing. They repeat back to me what I'm sharing and say, well, these are the solutions we have, or this is what you need to do. I've noticed that a lot lately, and that's a good thing, because essentially they're tapping into the psychology part of our emotions as humans. And they're saying, okay, we need to slow the roll. We need to allow the customer to be heard. And a lot of times that's all the customer wants, is to be heard and then get a solution to the problem that they have at hand. So I appreciate that share so much. Thank you. It's good to see you, Miss Kimberly. If you want to, you're more than welcome to jump up here and share on this conversation. Today, we're talking about brain candy and sweet treats for the soul. And then more importantly, we're just talking about emotions, how they impact you in a personal life, how they impact you in business, how we have a responsibility in life to be onerous of our emotions, have emotional intelligence, and in addition, be kind and mindful to others about how their day's going, and understand that they have emotions too. And really, at the end of the day, we all want to get to the greater good and common things. So what you got, Miss Kimberly? Are you there? She might be in pause mode. We'll come off mic when you're ready to chit chat, Miss Kimberly. We'll come back around to you. But for that, Mr. Jones, I'll switch it back over to you.
Okay, I can
there
hear
you
you
are.
now. It was like something happened and I couldn't hear you.
Well, no
I'm
worries.
sorry. Can you say it again?
Yes, ma'am. I was just asking you, what do you want to add to this amazing conversation?
I haven't been on LinkedIn in a while, and it's just so refreshing to be back here in the midst of conversations like this. And so I really want to say thank y'all for having this room, because I have been around some conversations that have not been sharpening me the way that I like to be sharpened mentally, and it was having effect on my emotions in terms of how well I was using mine intelligently. And I had to actually look in a mirror and observe, and then absorb myself to rebalance myself out, because I don't think people understand how important balance is in their life and how it plays a role on hormones and emotions. Um, but I agree with everything else I've heard so far as well.
Yeah.
Thanks, Miss Kimberly. And we are proud that you and take it as a special note that you come in to our room and feel like the topics and the conversations that we have are helping to sharpen your skill sets and your tools instead of dull them. And I will say the same thing. It's when we can openly have conversations like this within business, within personal life, just in community like we are now, that share openly so we can be relatable. We can all come down the pipeline and relate to the fact that, we are all human. And just to add to a little bit to that story that I was sharing about the customer service, when I was being passed around from departments, I finally got this young lady on, and we were she was in limbo helping me because she had another assistant, or like a tech, somebody higher up chatting, like helping her through chat to help me with my problem. And, the funny thing is it came down the pipeline that we were on the phone, her and I together for like an hour and a half. And she said, when we were getting ready to hang up and move on to off the conversation, and she was about to transfer me to another department, she said, ma'am, I just want to share with you that I really enjoyed our conversation today. I know you called up about QuickBooks and Intuit and help there, but I really appreciate your call. You've shared some wisdom with me about life. She was early in her 20s. And she's like, you've shared some wisdom with me that will really, it's made so much sense when you said it. And she says, and you were just a delight to talk to. I know what you're going through right now is super frustrating because we're really at fault. We dropped the ball, and you should be extremely upset in this position, but you are very,
I know, I put it there.
You are very kind to be very nice to us and not take it out on me. And I shared with her, I said, absolutely. It doesn't do me any good. Honestly, if I get upset at you, it only takes away from me. And she's like, well, what do you mean by that? And I said, if I get mad at you for whatever happened because Intuit, has dropped the ball or done whatever they did, it's if I get mad at you, I'm taking away from my energy, my happiness, my, control of, my emotional intelligence. I'm giving all that up to you or to anybody. If I lose my crackers and my, go cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs on the phone with you, and it doesn't make sense. It doesn't help the situation. It makes you feel like it's personal because yes, it's not personal, but you got a family. You're going to then you have kids. You might take that, not that you're going to personally take it out on them, but you might, kind of be shorter, not so kind to them because you're frustrated from your day, your significant other, you might snap at them because of your day. It just comes back to, we are a ripple effect, and how we react and how we treat others is a ripple effect on us and a ripple effect on them. And you might not even know their kids, their family, their mom, their dad, their significant other, but it can impact them based on how you act. And she says, I have never had a conversation from a client or for a customer from a customer service point of view. I'm just on the bottom of the ladder here at customer service. And I've never had a conversation like this in why we're waiting to find out the solution or what we need to do to where we need to, transfer you. Because she's like, I've never had this conversation. And I wish more people would call up like you and be like, yeah, I got a problem, but be kind. And I said, I appreciate the love and I appreciate the acknowledgement, and I wish more people did. And that's why we have these conversations, is to be able to share with other people and just, you impact people. We are impactful of our own life and others around us and who we deal with on a daily basis. So absolutely. Mr. Jones, what you want to jump in here on that?
Yeah, sure. Especially when we talk about, our emotions, it, causes stress. It can cause, mindfulness, excuse me, and really stress, that can be negative and that can make those emotions just turn into a mood. And then that mood is just turned into who you are. And that's why it's important to manage these emotions, to understand, how you internalize them and how you release that stress as well. And, there's different techniques. Earlier today, I was meditating earlier, and I felt just the stress, just go away. And so this is something that you guys will continuously hear us talk about is, letting go, is meditation. Meditating for 5 minutes, meditating for 20 minutes, is key. And it's a sit down meditation. It's, listening. It's a guided meditation. It's a walking meditation. It can be any type of internal dialect. And a lot of people say, well, David, I try to sit down and I try to meditate and my mind just goes everywhere. That is a part of meditation. It is telling the body to sit down, sit here, shut up, listen, right, to what we have to say and to get those things out. And so often we don't, because I remember when I first started meditating, I would come up with every excuse, every reason there was to get up, to stop. My nose is itching, my eye is itching, my butt is itching, this is itching, I got to go do this, I got to go do that. Oh, I forgot to do this. And it's really separating the mind from the body, because after a certain amount of time, as we share with you guys, your emotions are nothing more than, patterns, programs, traumas, and dramas that we have to be able to have that emotional intelligence and say, hey, this does not work out. This is not working out. This is not doing me any better. And it's not getting me to the goals that I wanted to get me to. So I have to change, these things, especially when we do have these internal dialects. We point the finger at everybody else when in all reality, it's us that's responding this way. It's us that is taking on whatever somebody said and turning around, twisting around, and making it fit to what we think, other than actually listening to that person and asking questions, about what that person means. So we don't assume and we don't, really get in our own cahoots about things. And this is where, emotional productivity, positive emotions, and really changing that mindset of it not being negative. Anytime somebody says something to you, don't make it a negative, outcome. Don't allow yourself to get burnt out. Have a work-life balance. A lot of us try to work 8, 10, 12 hours straight, and that just doesn't work. The average person, I think, is really, 20, 30, is 45 minutes that you really can concentrate and work, effectively. And so if it takes you to take a walk, if it takes you to get up and maybe do something else to get back to what you're doing, that is perfectly okay. And even more importantly, not emotionally beating ourselves up, internally, because if you want something positive, you have to start creating and thinking something positive at the end of the day, and not always thinking negative, not always thinking about what did happen or what has happened, or bringing up the past and talking about the past, but focusing on the right now. And that takes us to active listening, right? When we talk about emotions and communication, is actively listening to people and not listening to respond, not, listening to react, but really, as I share, a lot of the times, we order online, or when there used to be the good old mall days, and you would go to pick up your shoes and go get your shoes, the person would ask you, hey, what size shoe you wear? You immediately would tell them, oh, I got a size 11. Give me a size 11. Other than saying, hey, you know what? Let me get a size 11 and a half, an 11 or 12, and let me try those things on. We're not willing to try them on and see how they fit, especially when it comes from the other person. Instead of you having on your shoes and just walking in your shoes, take your damn shoes off and put on the shoes of somebody else and see how those shoes fit for them. And as I share with you guys all the time, it doesn't matter till it hits your front doorstep. Everybody talks about this, talks about that, but when it happens to you, it's a different scenario. And then the game changes. And that's where we have to really be able to have emotional intelligence around it. And that's when we talk about the mind, body, and soul, and being able to understand that, that there is emotions and physical health. When we talk about the mind and body and connecting, when we talk about emotional eating, when we talk about emotional pain, those things take a play in that as well. And especially when we talk about mental health, your emotions and how you view things and how you look at things can cause depression, can cause anxiety, can cause, emotional disorders. And that's why we share with you guys all to really dissect these things. And even more importantly, I want you guys to understand, as I'm sharing these things out loud, I'm talking to myself. And so a lot of the times, when me and Tara do speak, or I speak for myself, that when I do speak, it comes off real, it comes off raw. And some people get personal about it, but it's me talking to myself, talking out loud, because these are same situations that I've went through to remind myself of how they play a part. But sometimes people take that in one ear and they really bundle it into, a negative connotation, and it's not supposed to be. And, we want to be real, but then we don't want to be real with ourselves, or somebody is real with us. We can't take it, which just blows my mind. We have to be able to not just give it, but you also got to be able to take it. And that starts with you yourself, giving a hard-nosed conversation with yourself and being honest with yourself, and building that emotional resilience, building that emotional, awareness. And just like with going to the gym, just like with, eating the right things, it creates a habit. And you cannot allow your emotions to, go haywire and not have these habits and not have these working out, of building this muscle. That's your emotional intelligence, is working it out when it matters, not after the fact, not 3 or 4 months later, or bringing it up a week later and being, it's at that particular moment of having that emotional awareness in business and life, and more importantly within yourself, as we have these conversations. And so we definitely wanted to bring this to the forefront as we have this amazing conversation for our brain candy and sweets treats for the soul. And hopefully you guys are all getting this great information that you can, take throughout your day and be like, you know what? Am I beating myself up? Am I handling my emotions right? Am I giving other people, grace? Am I giving other people perspective? Am I trying on their shoes? What am I doing that I can help myself, more importantly, that then can help everyone for the greater good, especially in today's society where it's all about them. It's all about, us trying to get to the next level. And as I share with you guys all, a lot of the times we want to grow outwardly, but that takes you to grow inwardly. We're looking at all these other different, outcomes, but how are you showing up and what energy and vibration, and frequency are you, presenting to the world? Because what you give is what you get. You want happiness, you better be giving happiness. You want love, you better be giving love. You want, emotional support. You want somebody to care about your feelings. You better be doing the same thing for other people as well. Give what you want. And what I find a lot of the times is people aren't doing that. And that's something that Tara shared earlier, right? Is that you cannot allow other people to disrupt how you impact your life or how you view your life based upon somebody else. And so as we continue to share with you guys, right, be aware of your surroundings, which is what Kimberly was talking about. Your surroundings create the story that you tell yourself and that you sell yourself. It creates the sacrifices that you take in your life. And a lot of the times we look at sacrifice and we think negative, but it's good to sacrifice some things for the greater good that then sets your standards in life, right? That then gives you your self-disciplines in life, that then you have that real conversations with that soul, that internal conversation, that dialogue with yourself. And so that's really what today's conversation is about, guys, as we wrap this up and really talking about, brain candy, sweets and treats for the soul. If anybody else wants to add, please feel free. Come off mic, add. Chef Andy, we see you down there in the garden. Please feel free to come up here as well. If you guys do not know about our amazing Biz in a Box, it is more than a website. It is literally your smart link at the end of the day, where it's a one app, one tap foundational system that we help you pivot into the future and help you keep up with this technology so you're not falling behind. Because if you guys are not paying attention, I'm here to tell you right now, your cell phone is obsolete. Your cell phone is the new pager. If you've been watching TikTok, you've been watching these commercials, you watched the Meta Connect last week, they're telling you where we're going. Your glasses.
I heard you.
Oh,
Sorry.
Go ahead, Kim. What you got? Talk to us.
Oh my God. I'm so sorry. I didn't know I was on. I thought I had the mute on.
We didn't hear nothing if you was cussing us our asses out.
No. My son walked in. My husband and my son went to my daughter's PTA. I'm not doing that shit no more. My kids are so old, like, so they, I have my goddaughter. And so I'm like, it's y'all turn to do this type of stuff. So I let them go. And my son is the president. My husband came in and was like, hey, Will the president, nobody contested. And I was like, oh my goodness, So he just walked in while you guys are talking. And I'm like, holy shit, I heard you the president. And I forgot I was like not on mute.
We didn't hear it. We didn't hear it.
Oh, okay. But no, before that, I wanted to come off mute because I want to say I miss y'all. I really miss y'all. I miss having these types of conversations. My whole family has gotten into neuroscience and awareness and intentionality, and everybody is eating because I've been having to make some creative dishes here. And so, I have been still, trying to talk myself into pushing the button, and I feel like I'm pretty much there. But whenever I have issues recording myself, to like put myself and my business out there, I kept stopping, and I'm telling you, the way I heard David's voice was like one of those really deep movies where it's like, just push the button, and it's like your fucking voice comes out of nowhere in my head, like push the button, just push the button. And so I've been having to do so much deep digging soul work to figure out exactly what it is, what fear, what I need to identify. What is this I need to identify that's getting in my way, so I can kind of like get over it. And so when I saw you guys are having this room today, I'm just like, it's so on brand for what me and my family have been talking about. And I literally had this conversation with someone today. And you guys confirmed so much for me. And it's like, and I'm laughing in my head because I'm like, oh my God, I wish my husband could hear this, because at first it was like my perspective, and then you kept going because I've been learning to listen for the sake of taking in, you know. And the more you listen, it's so true, you know. And at first I felt like I was justified until you turned around and said, and are you giving what you're expected? Like, oh my God, like you called me out. You affirmed me and you called me out, all in speaking to yourself. And so it's like, I love being here. I miss you guys. Seriously, you guys are like, you're my meta family. And these conversations, like this conversation, I hate that I caught the tail end of it, but this really is like true brain candy and sweet treats. And I really hope that you guys record it, because like people need to hear these conversations.
And you know this, man. It is on all of our social media platforms, from Facebook to LinkedIn to YouTube to Twitch to Spaces to Instagram Live. And we're on TikTok Live. If you don't know, guys, we are everywhere as we share with you guys to do the same and to be omnipresent. We just don't talk about it. We actually do it as well. And that's the great thing about our Hello Pivot membership. If you don't know about our Pivot membership, we can show you, we can teach you, or we can do it for you at the end of the day. And more importantly, especially if you guys do not know about Kimberly Martin, I highly encourage you to go to her Biz in a Box that we were able to create. That is more than a website. It's more than an actual, link tree. It's definitely something that's been helping her with her foundation and systems and showcasing her business in a completely different way. And even more importantly, guys, she's going to be making her move into utilizing the metaverse. And we got Chef Andy up here as well. That is another one of our Biz in a Box clients as well. If you guys do not know about Chef Andy, you're about to find out. Chef Andy, brother, if you're available, talk to us, share with us. I know this is right up your alley when we talk about emotions and all this nitty gritty stuff. Talk to us, brother.
Yeah, well, good conversation. I love everything you guys share. It's just amazing. And, just in time for Halloween, some sweet candy and treats. But, the emotional thing, like you said, man, that's, my dad was he was out of the Army. He was a disabled vet, but he was a real toughie. And he wouldn't adhere, to crying at all. He had kept his emotions in. And the thing was, when we were growing up, we, those of us who are fortunate enough to still have our parents and hang around them, you see the different emotions and how they handle it. And of course, as a young boy growing up in New Jersey, I didn't, either way, but you still the emotions. Sometimes I would have to lock myself in my room to do whatever I needed to do to unstress and to unwind and to get those emotions out. But, as you become an adult, you think about some of the things that influence you regarding your emotions. And sometimes it's best to, if you're in a business decision or some type of decision, relationship, whatever it might be, or even what you cook for dinner, emotionally, you're saying is, you just take a little time, relax a little bit, and see what happens. Don't act, I always heard, on whatever that emotion is, especially if it's going to produce a negative result. You don't want to produce a negative result, of course, just because you're acting on it emotionally. Wait for everything to cool down. Like Tara said, the clouds will pass, the sun will shine brightly, and everything will be cool again. So yes, the whole scenario really. I've been just reading a brand new book by the gentleman that runs the Transcendental Meditation Organization now, Maharishi, handed it over to him, called Everything is Consciousness. And it's very intense. In other words, he really explores all the facets of the brain growing, neuroplasticity of our brains, and how they used to think it was just a stagnant, no growth type of organ in the body, but man, it's growing constantly. That's why we want to feed our brain good things. And but this book is really, it's really it takes me a while to read each chapter because there's so much depth to it. But it's called Everything is Consciousness. I think it's on the bestseller New York Times. But anyway, so yeah, it all has to do with how we handle things, how we reflect things, how we respond things, sort of like hitting a ball against the wall, how it comes back to us, because everything eventually will come back to us. And I real quick, I don't know if it's changed the subject, but I've been watching the videos, even though I'm safe here in Florida, and thank goodness that the hurricane didn't affect too much the area. I just moved to the West Coast back again, where the Gulf Stream is, but I've been seeing videos of the devastation up there. I just can't believe it. So I'm doing a fundraiser at my friend's place in Austin, Texas. I should really go to Austin, Texas, because there's lots of music there, and I love music. And so we're thinking about doing something to raise funds for either Red Cross or any of the organizations that are just doing their due diligence, volunteering. So many chefs, so many volunteers walking off the streets, going into the restaurants, preparing food for these people who are without nothing. So anyway, I just thought I'd throw that out there. We're trying to think if it's going to be either on the 19th of October, which, by the way, this is the Italian-American celebration of the month of October, or November 2nd, they're both Saturdays. So we'll figure it out, and we'll let everybody know that's in walking distance or flying distance, because my friend has a beautiful kitchen and can fit 25 people, and I'll be there singing and cooking, and we'll just have a blast. Anyway, I wanted to share that, but thanks so much, you guys. I'm going to head on to bed, take a little shower, head on to bed now, and have some sweet dreams. Yeah, thanks, man.
Well, thank you, Chef Andy, and much love to you for getting out there and giving back, especially to those that need it right now, by all those that are affected by the storm that went through Miss Helene, Hurricane Helene, as they call her. And our thoughts and our prayers and our good vibrations are that way. And yes, and so first of all, we absolutely adore you and Miss Kimberly, of course, and everybody else who's watching here with us. But you touched on some great keys, especially one of your emotions are like a ball that you hit up against the wall and they come back. And I couldn't have. You said it so eloquently and quickly. I was trying to get to that point, I guess, in my roundabout way. But that's exactly what it is. Is that what you put out in this world, you will receive back tenfold. Some people call it the law of karma. Some people call it just, it is what it is, and it's such a impactful way of being and understanding that you not only impact yourself, but you impact others around you. And that kind of leads me into a bit of, we've had kind of what Miss Kimberly was sharing, that she hadn't been on LinkedIn for a little bit, just because of, her own reasons why. But it reminded me when she was sharing and when you were sharing, the impact people have on other people. And we've experienced over the past week, just in the last week, a couple of weird kind of experiences through our social audio rooms that we host here. And they were all emotional related. One individual was, hanging out in the room and chatting and a part of the room and a part of the conversation and up on stage, sharing to the conversation, and then, shared that they had to go and okay, no worries. And then later send us a message that she, will never be a part of our communication ever again because of an analogy I used. I had used an analogy that it didn't set right with her. I was this is the analogy I had. I had made an analogy towards like, you know, customization. And if you go in and order a hamburger, you know, you tell them that I want, you know, lettuce and tomatoes and pickles, no mustard, no ketchup, and mayonnaise only. That's how I want my hamburger. And that analogy didn't set well with her. And she left, and that was okay. You know, we get it. You know, we're not holding a gun to anybody's head to participate in our rooms by any means. But for that person to then, you know, message us later and kind of get real emotionally attached and kind of have an emotional outburst, it was shocking. It was kind of like, okay, okay, you know, no worries. And, you know,
just because you are a vegetarian and you don't like meat doesn't mean that you chastise everyone else. And this is coming from two vegetarians once before, pescatarians a while, and we had to come over
pescatarian,
you know, that concept of, oh my God, you eat meat. Oh, you're and Tara didn't make it nowhere near to that extent of killing animals, disrespecting animals, anything of that sort. And we all have this internal dialogue that goes on in our head that I was talking about, right? Of reacting to what people say and already listening and having an agenda and then being negative about it. And then just the simple, cancel culture, of what you thought and how you thought, and everybody lives their different lives. And you guys all know us. We don't say anything disrespectful, but more than anything, it's funny as hell. And
we don't mean to. It's not intentional.
And just like with another individual, got mad and upset that, they felt that we didn't give them the opportunity to speak on stage, when you guys hear us talk about it all the time. Mi casa, su casa, share your business, share your brand. We want you to share all day. We want more people to talk. Hell, because it gives me and Tara a chance not to be the only ones talking, being that we've been running rooms for 4 years now, and we kind of know a little something about, moderating our rooms. And so, especially, when you say thank you to that person and they say thank you for letting me share, and then they start out the conversation 4 hours later saying, although you let me share, I felt that you didn't give me an opportunity to speak what I needed to speak, and you knew what you were doing, and that's disrespectful, dishonorable, and vindictive. And I'm like, where is this coming from? And so something's definitely in the water these days. So if you guys are experiencing,
it's the planet's moving around, I'm telling you.
If you guys are experiencing these things, then please believe you're not alone in that whatsoever. And it's just the craziest thing. And that's even what even started this conversation, and why we had this conversation, because emotions popped up for people, and we allow our emotions to impact our business, impact our life, and just impact us on with friendships that don't need to be impacted because of our personal thoughts or because of our personal, our personal agenda that we might have, or what we thought, somebody had a problem. It's crazy that when we have a conflict with somebody, we won't actually talk to that person. We'll cancel them and then go talk to other people to get them on our side, and now have a hate train going of hating this person without that person having a conversation, which just blows my mind. And it just doesn't do well. And when we share with you guys all that collaboration is the new currency, and not collaborating and cutting people off and canceling them, and bad mouthing them and talking trash about them, just doesn't serve us as a whole well, let alone it really makes you look foolish at the end of the day by, trying to, get people to engage in your hatred and engage in your viewpoint of how you saw something. And this is something that I share with Tara all the time. There's 3 sides to the story. There's your side, there's my side, and then there's actually what happened. And a lot of the times we hold on to what we believe happened so much. Then the crazy thing about it is that when we do get angry, when we do get frustrated, the front side of your brain shuts down. And although, you might have thought that you said this, or you said something, but you meant something else, that's all good and well. That shit doesn't matter, because what you said is what was heard, not what you thought, not what you meant. And at that point, trying to go back and clean it up, this is that emotional awareness. This is that being responsible for our words, and more importantly, slowing down and being onerous of how we show up and the energy that we carry towards the conversation. Are you bringing positive to the conversation? Are you bringing negative to the conversation? Is your first thought process or first response negative, or is it positive? And that in itself will lead you to understanding, hey, where's my emotions? Where am I at? How am I really viewing life? And am I happy with myself? Am I mad at something else? What else is going on for me to carry this energy and to spew it onto other people? And that's something that we all have to deal with and have a conversation internally with ourselves. But will we have that true, authentic, real, raw conversation at that? And speaking of real, raw, authentic conversations, we highly encourage you guys to go and listen to our Getting Naked podcast. We just had an amazing conversation, Digital Nomad, the Real American Dream, where we talked about getting outside of America is the new American dream, and our experiences and what we've learned, over this past 2 years, especially now being back in the States for the last month. Guys, I saw a damn 8 count of biscuits. Mrs. Brayer, Pillsbury ass definitely needs to be more than poked in the stomach. But at this one store, it was $5.87 for an 8 count of biscuits, which just blew my mind. You guys definitely go check out our social media on that. And then I went to another store and it was half the price, which is crazy in itself. And this is something that we shared in our podcast, especially we talk about emotions and things of that sort. These companies are definitely making more of their money on Americans than they are outside the States, where they're quadrupling their prices because they know Americans have it. Where outside the country, they can't do that, or their stuff will be sitting on the shelves. And so although we talk about, America's great, this, that, and the other, once again, with these emotions and these played out, sayings, you really have to get down to the nitty gritty. So definitely go check out our Getting Naked podcast. And that's what I'd have to share and end with today's conversation. What else you got left?
Just, in relationship to those kind of emotional, reactions that we had some listeners have, we have a responsibility.
Yeah.
And that responsibility that we see in our eyes is that how we react to their reaction.
Yeah.
And that is kind of the name of today's game is how are you reacting when emotions do pop up? And those were 2 emotional reactions, and we understand people have emotions. They're entitled to their opinion. That's not, entirely how we saw things that happened. And that was definitely not our intent of anything to hurt someone's feelings or to step on anybody's toes or to, intentionally leave them out or whatnot. But we have a responsibility with how we react. And we chose to, thank them for the communication. Thank you for bringing it to our attention. Communicate that wasn't our intent. We apologize that, that did happen and that was, how that happened and that we appreciate their support and we understand. And both of them chose to have a very visceral reaction after that. Like,
You even say sorry.
You
and
even
people still have emotion.
Say that wasn't our intent. We're sorry. Thank you so much for bringing it to our attention. And like David said, they had another emotional reaction and basically in very polite terms, I'll put it in very polite terms. They did not put it in polite terms, but it was basically to F off and kick rocks. And that's okay. That's their entitlement as a human. Their emotions are playing out in their life. That's the journey they're on. We can't make them wrong nor right. It's just what is so. But we do have control over our reaction, our responsibilities, and our emotions. And we have done a lot of work around intentionality. Like Miss Kimberly said, I dropped off. That's okay. I'm still here. But we are intentional within our intentions of our mindfulness of, and that's because we did a lot. We've done a lot of neuroscience studies, actually research, reading up on people who have done the studies and the research, and just educating ourselves on how we show up, regardless of how someone else shows up. And that's emotional intelligence. When you can react in a different manner and not match someone's emotion, their volume, emotional intelligence. And so I think the synopsis and the moral of today's story is work on your emotional intelligence. If you feel that they're way out of line, that your emotions are way out of line, that just means that you got a little more exercise to do on the emotional intelligence side. It does not make you wrong, doesn't make you right. It just means that you got somewhere a little more work to do. And in that work, you will find peace. And the greatest gift you can give yourself is a peace of mind. It's the most freeing thing. It is the most valuable thing you will ever own, is the joy you have in yourself and the peace of mind that you give yourself based on who you are. So it's been a great thing, and so we just greatly appreciate that, and appreciate everybody jumping up on here. I think that's Abdul that just jumped in here. Is that Abdul that just jumped in on TikTok?
No,
that's not him.
Oh yes, that's Abdul.
So, hey, Abdul, it's good to see you. And so we can't see you, but you can see us.
What's up, brother?
So, at the end of the day, it's really us. We've learned this over our corporate careers. We've learned this through owning a business. And it just comes down to the simple fact, that, we share this with you guys in hopes that it does spark where you're like, I want to take a little more initiative to find out about that. I want to be a little more emotionally intelligent. And I kind of, to be very frank, guys, I hate the word emotionally intelligent because none of us are not intelligent in emotions. We just don't have our skill set fine-tuned.
Emotional awareness.
Emotional awareness is a better way to put it. We're just fine-tuned our emotional awareness. And that's taken years of work, and still takes work to this day. So with that said, Mr. Jones, what we got as we wrap this amazing conversation up?
Well, you guys know the drill. Always come and visit us in the Hello Plaza in Metaverse that you can join from your cell phone. Let me say it again for the people in the back.
The Palm Pilot.
Your cell phone, you can come and join us in the Metaverse, and you can experience something different. I can assure you it is better than your Zoom. It's better than a 2D platform that's been sold as Metaverse. It is better than your mama's couch.
It's better than your mama's cooking.
I can assure you that. Maybe depends on if your mama can cook or not. But anyhow, you guys know that you can come and visit us for our helpful how-to Tuesdays that we have at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And then, of course, on our Wisdom Wednesdays, Brain Candy and Sweet Treats for the Soul is the new title, is the new series. And that's what we're going to be talking about every single Wednesday, every single Tuesday. And definitely make sure you guys come and join us for our Hello Pivot broadcast on Thursdays that we have with special guests. If you want to be a special guest on our platform, then definitely understand Mikasa, Sukasa, and our family can be your family.
Did you know you were just bilingual?
Girl, I know that.
Mikasa, Sukasa. He knows how to say my home is your home.
Hey, being a digital nomad, you learn these type of things. But come and enjoy us and be with us in this amazing environment. As always, you guys know the drill. Love,
kindness,
integrity,
but most importantly,
commitment
and consistency.
And until next time, toodles.
Bye, y'all. Have a great evening. We will be back next week. So take care and fine-tune that emotional awareness. I won't know about to say intelligence.
Get shit together.
That part. Bye, guys.